Trusting data these days is, well, it's hard. Where did it really come from? Who's had their hands on it? Has it been tweaked, even a little bit? The answers are often a total mess. But what if that just wasn't a problem anymore? What if every single piece of data could tell its own complete, unbreakable story? That's the whole idea behind Codatta. And we're about to dive into the architecture that makes it all possible. Seriously, just take a second and think about this. Imagine a world where the history of your data, its entire lineage, is a perfect, unbroken chain. From the instant it's born to the moment you're using it, every single move it makes is recorded and is completely impossible to fake. That's the big promise we're digging into today. And look, this isn't just some catchy slogan they cooked up. It's the fundamental design principle of the entire system. Provenance is never broken. This one idea is the North Star that guides every single layer of the architecture we're about to walk through. It ensures that data integrity isn't just a feature, it's the very foundation. Okay, so how do they actually pull off this unbreakable story? Well, it all kicks off at layer 1, anchored in truth. This is all about securing your data the very second it hits the system. The process itself is surprisingly straightforward, but incredibly powerful. First, the data, the payload, gets encrypted. Simple enough. Second, a unique digital fingerprint of that data, what we call a hash, is permanently anchored. And finally, to keep things snappy, parts of that data get mirrored for quick access. But it's that second step, that anchor, that is the absolute game changer here. And this is why that anchor is so important. The system takes that data fingerprint and locks it onto decentralized networks. Systems that are spread across tons of computers, making them insanely resilient and tamper-proof. It basically becomes the permanent, unchangeable source of truth. It's like carving the data's identity into a digital mountain. That reference can never change. Okay, but you might be thinking, doesn't that sound kind of slow? And you'd be right. Permanent storage can be. But the system has a really clever solution for this. While that unchangeable anchor guarantees the data's integrity, copies of it are mirrored to super fast normal cloud storage, like Amazon S3 or Google Cloud. So you get the high-speed performance you need for your apps without ever compromising that original source of truth. Best of both worlds. So our data is stored with an unbreakable seal of authenticity. Awesome. But how do you actually use it? That brings us to layer 2, processing in private. This whole layer is about tackling a huge problem: how we can work with sensitive data while keeping it completely shielded from prying eyes. Well, there's no single magic bullet for secure computation. A simple task like redacting a name is worlds away from training a massive machine learning model. So to handle this, the architecture offers 2 totally distinct patterns for processing data securely, each one tailored for different kinds of jobs. So first up, you have TE enclaves. The best way to think about this is like a secure black box. You hand it a locked-up piece of data, it performs one very specific task, say pulling out a feature or blacking out a name, and then it hands the locked box right back to you without ever seeing the raw data inside. On the flip side, for bigger, more collaborative jobs, you've got federated runs. Imagine a bunch of hospitals all trying to train one AI to spot a disease. Each hospital uses its own private patient data, which never, ever leaves their building. They only share the learnings, the model updates, back to the central model, not the data itself. All right, so we've got secure storage and private processing. The last piece of the puzzle? Access. We need to control exactly who can get to it. And that is the whole job of Layer 3, the access gateway. This is the final security checkpoint for every single request that comes in. And you should think of this gateway as way more than just a door. It's an intelligent guardian. It's an active system that enforces a whole set of strict, predefined rules. Not one single byte of data is going anywhere until this gateway confirms that the request is totally legit and fully authorized. So what kinds of rules are we talking about here? Well, it's a whole defense-in-depth approach. You've got role-based policies. Are you an analyst or an admin? Then there are attribute-based policies, which can check the data itself, like blocking access if it's tagged as personally identifiable information. And then you have token-based policies, which can grant super specific one-time access for a particular job. It's a multi-layered shield. So you put all these layers together, the secure storage, the private compute, the smart gateway. What do you get? What's the end result? Well, it's something called perfect replay. This is where that unbroken chain of custody we've been talking about really comes to life. Here's the really cool part. Because the whole system is deterministic, it means something huge. If you make the exact same request against the exact same version of a dataset, you will always,
Every single time, get an identical, verifiable log of that action. There's no ambiguity, no maybe, no guesswork. It's provably consistent. And that's the absolute bedrock of trust and auditability.
And this is what that trail actually looks like. It's not just a fuzzy concept, it's a concrete log. You can see everything: the unique ID for the request, the specific action taken like read or compute, the exact data version it was performed on, and the specific policy that gave it the green light. And this isn't just for security audits. It also means things like billing can be perfectly aligned. Every single action is accounted for.
Really, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea: replayable by design. It means the system itself is creating a perfect, self-auditing history. It gives you a precise, undeniable record of exactly what happened to your data at any point in its life.
And that brings us right back to where we started. When a system is built from the ground up so that the data itself provides a perfect, verifiable, and unbreakable story of its own existence, the question changes. It's no longer about who you can trust, but what you can trust. And the answer becomes the data itself.